Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The galaxy was silent as the Dragon Council gathered in the great chamber of fire and stone. The chamber floated above a dying star, glowing red and gold, fed by heat and ancient power. Massive dragon elders sat in a wide circle, their scales shining like metal, their eyes old and cold. This council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Their word was law. Their judgment was final. Today, one small species stood before them in thought, not in body. That species was humanity. The council leader, an ancient red dragon named Vorthak the Eternal, slowly lifted his head. His voice echoed like thunder. He spoke of humans as if they were insects. He said humans were weak, short-lived, and divided. He said they had spread too fast, built machines too fast, and learned too much for their own good. In his eyes, this made them dangerous, but not powerful. The other dragons listened in silence, their long tails resting on the stone floor. They believed the galaxy belonged to the strong, and strength meant fire, size, and fear. Humans had none of these. A younger dragon stood and spoke next. He shared reports from scouts who watched human worlds from far away. Humans fought among themselves. Humans argued. Humans made mistakes. The dragon laughed and said such a race could never challenge the Dragon Council. The chamber filled with low growls of agreement. To the dragons, unity was strength, and humans had none. The council did not see human hope, only human noise. They did not see human patience, only human chaos. Vorthak raised one claw, and silence returned. He said that humans had crossed an invisible line. They had built ships that reached ancient routes. They had sent signals into deep space, loud and curious. To the dragons, curiosity without permission was an insult. The council debated only one question, not whether humans should be punished, but how. Some dragons wanted fire and quick destruction. Others wanted slow control, turning humans into servants. In the end, pride decided. Vorthak declared that humanity would be judged publicly. A message would be sent across the galaxy. Humans would be given a choice: kneel and accept dragon rule, or face total destruction. The dragons believed this mercy was generous. They believed fear would end the matter without war. As the decision was made, ancient symbols burned into the air, sealing the judgment. The council did not celebrate. To them, this was routine, like crushing a rising spark before it became a flame. Far from the council chamber, deep in the cold dark of space, a dragon relay station awakened. It carried the council's message, wrapped in power and authority. The signal moved faster than light, passing stars and empty systems. It carried one clear truth. The Dragon Council had spoken, and humanity was now on trial. On Earth, the message arrived quietly. No alarm screamed. No cities shook. The signal was caught by machines orbiting the planet, then passed down through silent systems. In a hidden room beneath layers of rock and steel, human analysts watched data scroll across their screens. They did not understand the dragons yet, but they understood the tone. This was not a greeting. This was a threat. The humans did not respond, not because they were afraid, but because they were listening. Back in the Dragon Council chamber, the elders waited. Time meant little to them. Days passed, then weeks. No reply came from humanity. Some dragons laughed and said the humans were already breaking. Others grew uneasy. Silence was not expected. Most species begged. Most species screamed. Humans did nothing. Vorthak narrowed his eyes. He ordered scouts closer to human space. What the scouts saw confused them. Human worlds were calm. Ships still moved. Cities still lived. There was no panic, no surrender, no prayer to dragon gods. The council felt insulted. To be ignored was worse than to be challenged. Vorthak stood again and declared that the judgment phase was over. Humanity had failed to answer. Therefore, punishment would begin. A small dragon fleet would be sent, not to destroy Earth, but to burn a distant human colony as a lesson. The council believed this single act would end all resistance. As the fleet prepared, one old dragon spoke softly. He warned the humans had survived on a hard world. He said creatures shaped by struggle often had strength. His words were dismissed. The council had ruled for ages without mistake, or so they believed. The chamber doors closed. The star beneath them flared brighter, as if sensing what was to come. Far away, on a small blue world called Earth, humans continued to watch the stars. They saw shadows move where shadows should not be. They shared no speeches. They made no threats. They only prepared. The Dragon Council believed the war had already been decided. They did not know that this judgment, made in pride and fire, was the first mistake that would change the galaxy forever. The signal from the Dragon Council did not arrive like a scream or an explosion. It arrived like a cold shadow moving across space. Deep above Earth, silent human satellites caught the message and broke it into data streams. Those streams traveled down through layers of machines, cables, and hidden systems until they reached a secure command center buried far beneath the planet's surface. The room was filled with soft light and quiet screens, and men and women stood watching in still focus. No one shouted. No one panicked. The message was translated slowly, carefully, checked again and again. When the meaning became clear, the room grew even quieter. The Dragon Council had judged humanity. Kneel or burn. The words were simple, but the threat behind them was vast. Human leaders were called, not by loud alarms, but by secure lines and calm voices. Within hours, representatives from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies appeared on screens around a circular table. This was not a place of pride or fear. It was a place of planning. A senior analyst spoke first, explaining what little was known about the dragons. Ancient, powerful, few in number, extremely confident. The analyst ended with one line that stayed in the air longer than the rest. They believe we are weak. No one laughed. A woman from the Planetary Defense Division leaned forward and said that the dragons had made one clear mistake. They spoke as rulers, not as observers. They had not studied humanity deeply. Another voice added that humans had never survived by being the strongest. They survived by adapting, by learning, by refusing to give up. The council discussed options, but not surrender. Surrender was never placed on the table. Instead, they chose silence. They would not answer the dragons yet. To speak too soon was to reveal fear or anger. Humans chose neither. Across human space, orders were sent quietly. Fleets were recalled from trade routes. Research stations shifted focus. Old defense systems, once thought outdated, were powered on and tested. Nothing dramatic happened on the surface of human worlds. Cities stayed bright. People went to work. Children went to school. Only a few knew how close judgment had come. Far from Earth, in the outer colonies, miners and engineers noticed increased patrols and new codes of silence. They did not ask questions. Humanity had learned long ago that survival often depended on trust and preparation. Meanwhile, Dragon Scouts moved closer, watching human systems. They expected chaos. They expected fear signals, emergency transmissions, or mass evacuations. They saw none of it. Human traffic continued in smooth patterns. Defense satellites adjusted their position slowly, like natural movement, not panic. The scouts reported this to the Dragon Council, but their words were dismissed. The council believed humans were frozen by fear. Silence, to the dragons, meant weakness. Back on Earth, a smaller group met in a deeper chamber, one not listed on any map. This group controlled humanity's darkest secrets. Projects built not for conquest, but for survival. One screen showed old battles from human history, wars where humans had been outmatched and nearly destroyed. In every case, humanity had changed the rules. A quiet voice said that if the dragons wanted obedience, they would receive resistance instead. Another reminded the group that the dragons valued power and fear. Humans would show neither openly. They would let the dragons make the next move. Days passed. Still no reply from humanity reached the Dragon Council. Their pride turned to anger. They began to see human silence not as fear, but as disrespect. Vorthak the Eternal watched reports with burning eyes. He saw calm worlds and steady signals. He felt something unfamiliar stir within him. Doubt. He crushed it quickly. Dragons had ruled for ages. No small race could threaten that truth. He ordered a lesson to be prepared. A small human colony, on the edge of explored space, was chosen. It was far from Earth, lightly defended, and symbolic. The dragons believed that burning it would force humanity to beg. As the dragon fleet prepared, humanity detected the movement. Human sensors were weaker than dragon eyes, but they were many, layered, and clever. Analysts saw patterns shift, energy signatures align. They did not announce it to the public. They did not send a warning to the dragons. Instead, they sent a single message to all human defense units. Phase 1 confirmed. The meaning of those words was known only to a few. Across human space, hidden systems woke fully. Artificial minds began running millions of battle paths. Old ships were refitted in silence. Humanity did not seek glory. It sought survival. On Earth, one last meeting ended with a simple decision. Humanity would not strike first, but it would not be helpless. If the dragons attacked, humans would respond in a way the galaxy had never seen. As the dragon fleet crossed into faster-than-light travel, confident and proud, they believed they were about to teach a lesson. They did not know that humanity had already learned theirs. Silence was not weakness. Silence was preparation, and the quiet before them was not fear. It was focus. The first dragon fleet entered human space with absolute confidence. Their ships were massive, shaped like living beasts of metal and fire, their hulls glowing with ancient energy. To the dragons, this mission was not a battle, but a demonstration. They targeted a distant human colony world, small and quiet, chosen to send a message of fear. As the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, dragon commanders expected panic signals, fleeing ships, or desperate warnings. Instead, space was calm. The colony's orbital traffic continued at a steady pace. No emergency broadcasts were sent. No surrender message arrived. The dragons took this as proof of weakness. The lead commander ordered the fleet to move closer, weapons charging slowly, almost lazily. On the colony below, people continued their work unaware of how close destruction had come. Beneath the planet's surface, however, something old and hidden began to wake. Human sensors had tracked the dragon fleet long before it arrived. Defense systems that had not fired in decades locked onto targets with quiet precision. In a deep command bunker, human officers watched the incoming ships without speaking. When the dragon fleet crossed a final invisible boundary, a single calm order was given. Human space changed instantly. Defense satellites shifted from passive drift to active alignment. Energy fields snapped into place around the planet. The dragons noticed too late. Their targeting systems flickered, confused by false signals and moving shadows. Before they could adjust, the first human weapon fired. It was not loud. It did not burn the sky. A focused pulse of energy struck the nearest dragon ship and tore through its shields as if they were thin glass. The ship broke apart in silence, scattering fire and metal into space. For the first time in centuries, a dragon ship was destroyed by a younger race. Shock rippled through the dragon fleet. Commanders shouted orders, demanding full assault. Dragon weapons roared to life, beams of fire and plasma tearing through space toward the colony. Human shields absorbed the first wave, bending but not breaking. The dragons pressed harder, angry now, no longer calm. Then the humans changed tactics. Small human ships, fast and dark, burst from hidden launch points. They moved in unpredictable paths, attacking from angles the dragons had never faced. These ships did not try to overpower dragon vessels. They struck at weak points, communication nodes, and engine cores. Every hit was calculated. Every loss mattered. Dragon commanders struggled to understand the pattern. They were used to fear and retreat, not precision and patience. One dragon cruiser turned to pursue a human ship, only to be struck from behind by another it had not seen. Systems failed. Flames filled its halls. The crew realized, too late, that humans were not fighting with rage. They were fighting with control. On the human side, artificial minds processed the battle faster than any living being. Each dragon move was studied and countered within seconds. Human ships adapted in real time, changing weapon frequencies, shield patterns, and attack angles. The dragons felt the shift. What was meant to be a lesson was turning into a disaster. A dragon commander sent an emergency signal back to the Dragon Council, his voice filled with disbelief. He spoke of human resistance, of lost ships, of tactics that should not exist in a lesser race. The message was sent, but the battle did not pause. Humans pushed back harder now, not to destroy the entire fleet, but to break its will. One by one, dragon ships were disabled rather than destroyed. Engines went dark, weapons shut down. Crews found themselves drifting, alive but powerless. This confused the dragons even more. Why spare them? Why not finish them? The answer came when the human flagship finally revealed itself. Larger than expected, but still smaller than a dragon dreadnought, it moved calmly into view. A message was broadcast on open channels, simple and clear. Humanity had heard the judgment. Humanity rejected it. The voice was steady, not angry, not proud. It said humans did not seek war, but they would not kneel. The dragon commander hesitated. No species had ever spoken to dragons this way during battle. Before he could respond, human forces pulled back slightly, holding position. The message ended with a warning. Leave human space. This was the only chance. The dragons faced a choice they had never expected. Fight and risk total loss, or retreat and admit failure. Pride screamed for battle, but reality spoke louder. The remaining dragon ships began to withdraw, carrying their damaged fleet away from the colony. As they left, humans did not chase them. They did not fire again. They simply watched. On the colony world below, life continued, unaware that history had changed above their skies. In the Dragon Council chamber, the emergency report arrived. Silence fell heavier than stone. The council listened as the commander described the impossible. Humans had fought dragons and won the encounter, not with brute force, but with intelligence, restraint, and speed. Vorthak the Eternal felt fury rise within him, but beneath it, something far worse. Fear. The first contact had turned violent, and the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had shown its hand, and it was not empty. The Dragon Council chamber burned with anger when the report ended. The great circular hall, once calm and controlled, echoed with growls and the scrape of claws against stone. Never before had a lesser race forced a dragon fleet to retreat. The elder stared at the glowing images of destroyed and disabled ships, struggling to accept what they were seeing. Vorthak the Eternal rose slowly, his massive wings spreading wide, filling the chamber with heat. He declared that the failure was not proof of human strength, but proof of dragon restraint. He said the fleet had been too small, too cautious. Humanity had taken advantage of mercy. This mistake, he swore, would not happen again. The council agreed that the humans must now be crushed completely. A larger fleet would be sent, stronger and faster, commanded by veteran warlords. This time, there would be no warnings and no lessons, only destruction. Orders were given, and across dragon space, ancient shipyards awakened. Massive warships powered up, their cores burning bright with fire energy. The dragons prepared for total war. They believed fear would finally break humanity. Meanwhile, human space did not celebrate its first victory. In hidden command centers, human leaders studied the battle data carefully. They knew the dragons would return, and they knew the next attack would be far worse. Analysts reviewed every moment of the fight, every weakness discovered, every mistake made. Human commanders spoke quietly about losses that had been avoided and risks that had nearly turned deadly. The first battle had been controlled, but it had also been close. Humanity could not rely on surprise again. The dragons would adapt. Humans had to adapt faster. Across human territory, strategies changed. Fleets were broken into smaller, more flexible groups. Supply lines were rerouted through hidden paths. Old colonies, once thought unimportant, were reinforced. Humanity prepared not to defend worlds, but to move the battlefield itself. While dragon war fleets gathered, human scouts watched from the shadows. They did not approach directly. Instead, they studied patterns, energy use, and command behavior. Human artificial minds learned how dragons thought in war. They learned that dragons relied on dominance, on overwhelming force, and on clear lines of command. That knowledge became a weapon. When the second dragon fleet finally entered human space, it did so with fire and confidence. This fleet was far larger than the first, stretching across space like a burning wall. Dragon commanders expected resistance near major human worlds. They expected desperate defenses and large battles. Instead, they found empty space. Human colonies near the fleet's path had been evacuated quietly weeks earlier. Defense platforms were gone. Even satellites were dark. The dragons advanced, confused but pleased. They believed humans were retreating. That belief lasted only hours. The first attack came without warning. A dragon supply ship exploded far behind the front lines, struck by a weapon fired from extreme range. Before commanders could react, another ship vanished, then another. Human forces were not meeting the fleet head-on. They were cutting it apart piece by piece. Communication relays failed as human strikes targeted command ships. Dragon formations began to break as orders arrived late, or not at all. The dragons tried to respond with force, but every time they moved to engage, the humans were already gone. Human ships struck fast, disabled targets, and vanished into darkness. The battlefield became chaotic. Dragons were used to battles of honor and power, not invisible enemies who refused direct combat. Anger spread through the fleet. Commanders ordered aggressive pursuit, pushing ships deeper into unknown space. That was exactly what the humans wanted. The dragon fleet stretched thin, chasing ghosts. Then the traps closed. Human minds, invisible until activation, ignited around key ships. Gravity field shifted suddenly, pulling massive dragon vessels off course and into collisions. Dragons roared in fury as their strength became a weakness. Heavy ships could not turn fast enough. Losses mounted. In the center of the chaos, a powerful dragon admiral attempted to restore order. He rallied his forces and prepared a direct assault on what he believed was the human command center. His fleet charged forward, weapons blazing. They flew straight into an empty region of space, where nothing waited for them except silence. Then human forces appeared on all sides. This time, the humans did not pull back. They struck hard, overwhelming the admiral's defenses. His ship was crippled, engines destroyed, weapons offline. As human ships surrounded him, a message was sent. It was not a threat. It was an offer. Withdraw and live. The admiral hesitated. His pride burned, but he saw the truth around him. His fleet was broken. His strategies had failed. He ordered a retreat. Not all ships escaped. Many were lost, drifting or destroyed. The survivors fled human space in disorder. News of the defeat spread quickly to the Dragon Council. Worse than the loss was the mystery. The Dragon Admiral had vanished. His ship was not destroyed, but it never returned. Rumors spread among the dragons. Some said the humans had captured him. Others said he had chosen exile rather than face shame. Fear began to grow, slow and quiet. The Dragon Council tried to hide the truth, but doubt had already taken root. Humanity had not only resisted, humanity had changed the way war was fought. The mistake of underestimating humans was now clear, but it was too late to undo it. The war was no longer about judgment. It was about survival, and the galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity was not prey. After the second defeat, the Dragon Council no longer spoke of easy victory. The Chamber of Fire felt colder, the glow of the dying star beneath it less comforting than before. Reports arrived constantly, each one describing human movements that made no sense to dragon logic. Human fleets appeared, struck, and vanished. No clear front line existed. No single command ship could be targeted. Vorthak the Eternal listened in silence as his war advisors argued. Some demanded more force. Others demanded total destruction of human worlds. But beneath every voice was the same fear. The humans were learning, and they were learning fast. Deep within human space, the truth behind this learning was finally revealed. Humanity had activated its greatest hidden advantage, not a weapon of fire, but of thought. An adaptive war intelligence, created long before the dragons arrived, had been quietly improving itself for decades. It had studied every human war, every mistake, every victory. Now it studied the dragons. This intelligence did not feel pride or fear. It learned, adjusted, and evolved at speed no living mind could match. Every battle fed it new data. Every dragon loss made the system stronger. Human commanders did not surrender control to the intelligence. They worked with it, guiding its goals and limits. Humanity had learned long ago that power without restraint led to ruin. The war intelligence suggested strategies, predicted outcomes, and exposed dragon weaknesses. Humans chose which paths to follow. This balance of human judgment and machine precision became their strength. Across the war zones, dragon commanders began to notice the change. Human attacks became sharper, more efficient. Where humans once tested defenses, they now struck directly at critical points. Dragon shields failed faster. Countermeasures stopped working. The humans were not repeating tactics. They were improving them. A dragon warlord, watching his fleet crumble, realized the truth too late. He sent a desperate message to the Dragon Council, warning them that humans were not just reacting. They were anticipating. The message arrived, but pride dulled its impact. Vorthak refused to believe that a younger race could outthink dragons. He ordered a massive unified assault, bringing multiple fleets together to overwhelm human defenses through sheer size. The plan was simple and brutal. Flood human space with fire until nothing remained. The war intelligence saw the plan before it happened. Human sensors detected the fleet movements early, and predictions confirmed the Council's intention. Humanity did not retreat. Instead, they prepared something new. Human worlds appear to stand open, defenses visible and inviting. The dragon fleets advanced in formation, confident in their numbers. As they entered the trap, space itself seemed to turn against them. Human systems altered energy fields, bending sensor readings and warping targeting data. Dragon weapons struck empty space or friendly ships. Confusion spread. Then the humans struck. Coordinated attacks hit command ships first, severing leadership across the combined fleet. Without clear orders, dragon forces fell back into old habits, relying on brute strength. That strength was useless against precision. Human weapons adapted mid-battle, shifting frequencies faster than dragon shields could respond. Massive dragon ships, once symbols of terror, became slow, vulnerable targets. One by one, they fell. The Dragon Council watched the battle through distant feeds, unable to look away. For the first time in their long rule, they saw a future where dragons were not supreme. Panic rose in the chamber, though none dared speak it openly. An elder dragon finally voiced what others feared. The humans were not seeking domination. They were fighting to survive, and that made them unstoppable. On the battlefield, something unexpected happened. Human forces began offering surrender terms. Disabled dragon ships were allowed to retreat. Crews were spared. This mercy confused the dragons deeply. They had expected hatred. They had expected revenge. Instead, humans showed control. This mercy carried a message more powerful than destruction. Humans could end the dragons, but they chose not to. The war intelligence advised this approach. Fear could unite dragons. Doubt would divide them. The strategy worked. Whispers spread among dragon ranks. Some commanders began to question the council's decisions. Others wondered if peace was possible. The idea itself was dangerous. Vorthak sensed the shift and reacted with rage. He ordered all peace talk forbidden. Any dragon who suggested negotiation was branded a traitor. This only deepened the cracks. Back in human command, leaders reviewed the results. The war intelligence presented projections, showing multiple futures. In the ones where humanity sought total victory, the galaxy burned. In the ones where humanity limited its power, stability followed. Humanity chose the harder path. They would fight, but with purpose. They would win battles, but not lose themselves. As the war entered a new phase, the galaxy began to understand a new truth. Humans did not win by strength alone. They won by learning, adapting, and choosing when not to destroy. The Dragon Council had unleashed a force they could not control. Humanity was no longer reacting to the war. Humanity was shaping it. The war reached a turning point when humanity made a decision the Dragon Council believed impossible. Instead of waiting for another assault, human forces moved toward a dragon-controlled system for the first time. This system was not a military outpost, but a core dragon world, rich with history and industry, protected by layers of ancient defenses. To the dragons, their home worlds were untouchable, symbols of eternal dominance. The idea that humans would strike there felt unreal. Yet human fleets arrived without warning, emerging from hidden routes mapped by years of quiet observation. They did not arrive in massive numbers. They arrived with precision. Dragon defenses activated immediately, ancient cannons burning space with fire and energy. Human ships did not rush forward. They spread out, moving slowly, forcing the defenses to waste power tracking false targets. The adaptive war intelligence guided every move, predicting defense cycles and shield delays. One by one, outer defense rings failed, not destroyed but shut down, their control systems locked by human code. Dragon commanders panicked as systems that had never failed before went silent. Human ships moved closer, striking shipyards and military hubs with controlled force. They avoided population centers, redirecting power away from cities rather than toward them. This confused the dragons deeply. They had expected terror and death, not restraint. On the dragon world below, citizens watched the sky glow with distant battle, waiting for fire to fall. It never did. Instead, messages appeared across their networks, translated into dragon language. The message was simple. Humanity was not there to destroy them. Humanity was there to end the war. Dragon military leaders argued fiercely. Some demanded immediate counterattacks, others urged caution. Without clear orders from the council, confusion spread. Human forces used this moment to demonstrate their power. A single human ship disabled the planet's primary defense array in seconds, then withdrew. The message was clear. Humans could strike anywhere. They chose not to. This act shook the dragon society more than any loss of ships. For the first time, dragons felt what other species had felt under their rule. Helplessness mixed with uncertainty. Back in the Dragon Council chamber, chaos erupted. Some elders accused Vorthak of leading them into disaster. Others demanded the destruction of the human fleet at any cost. Vorthak roared that dragons would never kneel to humans. He ordered a final defense of the core worlds, calling back all remaining fleets. The order arrived too late for unity. Several dragon commanders hesitated. They had seen human mercy. They had seen human restraint. They began to question the council's wisdom. On the battlefield, humans completed their objective. They destroyed no cities. They took no territory. They captured data, disabled military production, and left behind a galaxy-shaking message. The age of unquestioned dragon dominance was over. As human fleets withdrew, they left the dragon world intact but exposed. Dragon citizens now knew the truth. Their rulers could not protect them from humanity. This knowledge spread faster than fear. Across dragon space, protests and quiet resistance began. Dragons who had never doubted the council before began to ask dangerous questions. Why had the council provoked this war? Why had they underestimated humanity? Why were humans showing mercy when dragons had shown none? Humanity watched these changes carefully. The war intelligence warned that internal dragon conflict was likely. Human leaders debated their next move. They could push harder and end the war quickly, or they could allow the dragons to face their own division. Humanity chose patience. They reduced attacks and strengthened defenses, giving the dragons space to decide their future. This restraint frustrated some human commanders, but leadership held firm. The goal was not conquest. It was balance. In the shadows of dragon politics, a split formed. A faction within the Dragon Council began secret discussions about peace. Another faction, led by Vorthak, prepared for total annihilation, even if it meant destroying their own worlds to deny humanity victory. The galaxy stood on the edge of collapse. On Earth, human leaders looked at the stars and understood the weight of their actions. They had struck a dragon world and survived. They had proven their power without becoming monsters. The war had changed. It was no longer about fleets and fire. It was about ideology, control, and the future of the galaxy. Humanity had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They were no longer a rising species. They were a deciding one. And as the dragon struggled with fear, doubt, and pride, one truth became unavoidable. Humanity had not won by destroying a world. Humanity had won by showing it could have, and choosing not to. The Dragon Council had survived wars, rebellions, and the slow decay of time, but it had never faced an enemy like doubt. After the human strike on the Dragon Core world, the council chamber no longer felt like the heart of power. It felt like a prison of old beliefs. The elders argued constantly, their voices filled with fear and anger rather than confidence. Two clear sides emerged. One side believed the war must end before the dragons lost everything. The other, led by Vorthak the Eternal, believed that peace with humans was weakness, and that only total destruction could restore dragon supremacy. This division spread beyond the chamber, reaching fleets, governors, and even civilian worlds. Dragons began to choose sides, quietly at first, then openly. Humanity watched without interfering. The war intelligence predicted internal conflict, and human leaders allowed it to unfold. They knew that forcing peace would unite the dragons against them. Letting dragons fight themselves would change everything. Within the council, secret meetings took place. A group of elder dragons, older than Vorthak himself, began to discuss surrender terms in hidden chambers. They remembered earlier ages when the dragons had nearly destroyed themselves through pride. They did not want history to repeat. They sent quiet signals to human space, asking not for victory, but for understanding. Humanity received these signals and responded carefully. No public statements were made. No promises were given. Only one message was returned. The war could end without extinction. That was enough to fuel hope among the peace faction. Vorthak sensed betrayal. His spies reported strange silences, missing warships, and delayed orders. He accused other elders of treason and demanded loyalty oaths. Some obeyed. Others refused. The council chamber became a battlefield of words and threats. Vorthak ordered the arrest of a respected elder who had spoken of peace. The arrest never happened. That elder vanished before the guards arrived. Rumors spread that human agents had taken him. The truth was darker. Dragon guards loyal to peace had helped him escape. The civil war had begun, not with fire, but with choice. Across dragon space, fleets fractured. Some followed Vorthak's call for annihilation. Others withdrew to protect their worlds or refused to fight humans any longer. Skirmishes broke out between dragon ships, once allies now enemies. The galaxy watched in shock as the rulers of ages turned on themselves. Humanity remained defensive, engaging only when attacked. This confused both sides of the dragon conflict. Vorthak tried to force unity through fear. He announced a final plan. If humanity could not be crushed, then the Dragon Core worlds would be turned into weapons. Ancient stellar engines would be activated, causing stars to burn unstable and wipe out entire regions of space, including human systems. It was a threat of shared destruction. Many dragons were horrified. This was not dominance. This was madness. Even some of Vorthak's strongest supporters hesitated. While the council argued, an attempt was made on Vorthak's life. During a heated session, energy weapons fired from the shadows. Vorthak survived, protected by ancient armor, but the message was clear. His rule was no longer absolute. The attacker was never identified, but suspicion fell on both factions. Trust vanished completely. In the chaos, the peace faction made its move. They openly declared the council divided and announced their intention to negotiate with humanity. Vorthak roared in fury and declared them enemies of dragonkind. Fleets loyal to him were ordered to hunt them down. The dragon civil war erupted fully. Human leaders faced a terrible decision. They could exploit the chaos and end the dragons forever, or they could act as a stabilizing force. After long debate, humanity chose intervention, but not with weapons. A single human envoy ship entered neutral space and broadcast a message to all dragon factions. Humanity did not seek dragon extinction. Humanity would defend itself and protect civilian worlds, dragon and human alike. Any dragon fleet that attacked civilians would be stopped. Any that sought peace would be protected. This declaration shifted the balance. Dragons who feared annihilation now saw an alternative. Several fleets defected from Vorthak, placing themselves under human protection. This enraged Vorthak beyond reason. He prepared his final move, activating the ancient stellar engines despite the risk. The galaxy stood on the brink of disaster. As stars trembled and energy built, humanity watched closely. The war had transformed into something far greater than territory or power. It had become a test of what kind of rulers the dragons would be, and what kind of power humanity would choose to be. The final phase was coming, and the fate of the galaxy would be decided not just by fire, but by restraint, courage, and the willingness to change. The final battle began before the galaxy could fully comprehend it. Dragon fleets loyal to Vorthak surged forward, their massive ships burning through space with fire and fury. Behind them, engines glowed brighter than stars, powered by rage and ancient energy. Humanity's fleets moved carefully, no panic, no hesitation, only precise coordination. The humans did not seek to destroy blindly. They sought to end the war while preserving life wherever possible. Every human ship operated under a single unified strategy, guided by the adaptive war intelligence, predicting dragon maneuvers before they happened. Dragon commanders screamed orders that often reached ears too late, or not at all, as fleets fractured under the pressure. The first clash was violent. Dragon fire tore through space, striking human shields that flexed and absorbed the impact, bending but never breaking. Human weapons struck back with pinpoint accuracy, targeting engines, weapons arrays, and command systems. Ships that had once been symbols of terror now drifted helplessly, unable to respond to attacks. Vorthak's personal flagship led the assault, massive and glowing, its hull layered with energy defenses. He expected humans to break under his assault, but they did not. Instead, they adapted instantly. The war intelligence calculated weak points in his strategies and exploited them. Human forces disabled smaller supporting vessels, leaving the flagship isolated. Vorthak roared in frustration as missiles, energy beams, and plasma strikes arrived from unexpected directions. He turned his ship to flee, but the humans anticipated the move and blocked every path. Dragon morale collapsed as their leader appeared vulnerable. On the battlefield, human restraint became a weapon as deadly as their firepower. They disabled systems, without killing crews whenever possible. Dragons struggled to understand this mercy. They had expected rage, vengeance, and terror, not control and calculation. The human strategy worked. Fleet after fleet fell into disarray. Some dragons tried to retreat, only to find themselves surrounded by fast-moving human ships. The humans did not destroy them outright. They immobilized them, cut off communications, and took control of critical systems. Vorthak realized that brute strength alone could not win this war. Panic spread among his remaining allies. Civil war within the dragon ranks continued even amid the battle. Some commanders refused to attack, secretly aiding human forces, while others followed orders blindly, plunging into traps. Vorthak's own pride began to crack. He could not believe that humanity had learned so quickly, adapted so efficiently, and still chosen mercy. It was a concept alien to dragonkind. In the middle of the chaos, a human envoy broadcast a simple message across open channels to all dragon forces. It was not a threat or a demand. It was an offer. Withdraw now and live. Continue the war, and extinction may follow. The words rippled through the fleets like a shockwave. Dragons had never been given a choice so openly, and their reactions were unpredictable. Some chose retreat. Others hesitated, unsure of loyalty. This hesitation created openings the humans exploited immediately. Vorthak's flagship was cornered near a dying star, trapped between human ships and the gravitational pull of the system. His weapons fired desperately, but every strike missed or was blocked. The humans maintained their formation with perfect timing. For the first time, Vorthak felt fear. His centuries of experience could not save him from a race he had once dismissed as weak. Realizing the battle was lost, he sent one final transmission to the Dragon Council. It was not a message of pride but of surrender, a confession that the humans had outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and outlasted the dragons. As his flagship powered down, human forces moved to secure it, ensuring the crew survived. Across the galaxy, remaining dragon ships saw the tide of war turn irreversibly. The war that had seemed endless was ending, not through total destruction, but through calculated restraint and strategy. Human leaders did not gloat. They did not celebrate destruction. They simply stabilized the fleets, ensured civilians were safe, and prepared for the aftermath. The galaxy itself seemed to exhale, as if aware that the balance of power had shifted forever. The Dragon Council, witnessing the collapse of Vorthack's forces, realized that their era of unquestioned dominance had ended. Fear, pride, and arrogance had failed them. Humanity had not only survived, it had forced dragons to reconsider their ways. In the silence following the battle, human forces began securing dragon worlds, not for conquest, but to maintain peace. Colonies were left intact. Civilian populations were protected. Resources were preserved. The message was clear. Humanity did not seek destruction, only survival and stability. Across the galaxy, whispers of the battle spread quickly. Species who had once feared dragons now knew that humans were a force unlike any other. Not merely powerful, but disciplined, strategic, and merciful. Dragonkind itself faced a reckoning. Internal divisions, the inability to predict human actions, and the demonstration of restraint had shattered centuries of assumed superiority. Vorthack was captured, alive but powerless. His defeat became a symbol not of shame, but of inevitability. The humans had fought not just to survive, but to teach a lesson in control, intelligence, and morality. The war had ended, yet its effects would shape the galaxy for generations. The humans had shown that true strength was not in fire or terror, but in the ability to outthink, outlast, and act with precision. The Dragon Council could no longer ignore this lesson. The galaxy had changed forever. Years had passed since the final battle that had shaken the galaxy. Humanity had emerged victorious, not through conquest, but through strategy, intelligence, and restraint. Dragon fleets no longer roamed unchecked, and the Dragon Council, once feared and unchallenged, had been forced to acknowledge a new era. Vorthack the Eternal, once the embodiment of dragon pride and dominance, had been confined under strict watch, his fleets dismantled and redistributed. Other elder dragons, who had sought peace, now work alongside human leaders to rebuild what had been broken. The galaxy itself felt different. Worlds that had once trembled at the mention of dragonkind now looked to humanity for guidance and balance. Humans did not take this power lightly. Colonies and systems previously at the mercy of dragon rule were stabilized, resources shared, and trade networks restored. Humanity established councils that included dragon representatives, but with strict rules. No single species could dominate the others. On the dragon homeworlds, life continued, but the people were changed. Young dragons grew up hearing stories of human mercy and intelligence, not just their own ancient victories. Pride still existed, but it was tempered by understanding and respect for the species that had defied them. Dragons who had once believed themselves untouchable now recognized the strength of cooperation and restraint. The human adaptive war intelligence, once a secret weapon of war, was now a tool for rebuilding. It coordinated trade routes, predicted natural disasters, and monitored conflicts before they could escalate. Its lessons in strategy and foresight were shared carefully, ensuring that no species became too dominant. Humanity had proven that victory did not require annihilation. The first years after the war were cautious. Some dragon factions still plotted revenge, but they were small and contained. Human fleets patrolled only when necessary, always with restraint, always avoiding unnecessary provocation. Diplomacy became the primary tool, supported by a readiness to act if required. Across the galaxy, other species began to take note. Worlds that had once been isolated or fearful now sought alliances with humanity, not out of fear, but out of respect. Trade, knowledge exchange, and cultural sharing flourished. The lessons of the war, adaptation, patience, mercy, spread like a quiet revolution. Children on distant human colonies learned not only science and history, but also the story of a race that had faced near extinction and survived without losing its morals. Dragons too learned. Their young taught that intelligence, strategy, and cooperation could be as powerful as fire and strength. Even Vorthack, once unyielding and proud, began to change. Confined and watched, he reflected on his mistakes. He saw the galaxy through the eyes of humans, realizing that power without wisdom led to destruction. Though he remained a formidable presence, his anger softened, replaced by grudging respect. The galaxy itself began to heal. Star systems scarred by previous battles slowly recovered. Colonies rebuilt, cities reestablished, and ecosystems restored. Humanity and dragons worked together in joint projects, exploring new worlds and advancing science, understanding that the future required cooperation rather than domination. Over time, the Dragon Council was restructured. It no longer held absolute power. Instead, it became an advisory body, with human representatives ensuring balance and fairness. Decisions were debated, not imposed, and transparency became a priority. Civil wars, once common among dragon factions, became rare, as young dragons saw the benefits of diplomacy and restraint. Across human space, a quiet pride emerged. Humanity had not only survived, but had rewritten the rules of galactic engagement. They had proven that morality and intelligence could prevail over brute strength and arrogance. Stories of the war became legends, taught to every generation as reminders of the cost of underestimating others and the power of patience. Dragons and humans occasionally clashed in training exercises, but these were symbolic, not deadly. Mutual respect had replaced fear. Over time, other species, once minor players, began contributing to galactic governance. They joined councils, shared technology, and participated in diplomacy. A new era of stability and cooperation arose, where no species could claim dominance, but all could contribute. Humanity maintained vigilance, but not oppression. They understood the weight of their power and chose to guide, not control. Dragons, once proud conquerors, now worked with humans as equals in many fields, from exploration to science. Cultural exchanges flourished. Dragon art, philosophy, and music spread across human colonies, while humans shared literature, history, and technology. The galaxy became richer not just materially, but in knowledge and understanding. In the quiet of space, far from battlefields and council chambers, humans and dragons alike reflected on what had been achieved. A war that could have destroyed everything had instead led to unity, growth, and understanding. And on distant worlds, children, both human and dragon, looked up at the stars, learning not just about planets and stars, but about courage, restraint, and the power of choice. The galaxy had learned one undeniable truth: never underestimate humanity, and never forget that true strength lies in intelligence, adaptation, and mercy. In this new era, humanity did not rule by fear, and dragons did not rule by pride. Instead, the galaxy thrived in balance, with each species contributing to the greater good. The legacy of the war was not scars or death, but lessons. The humans had changed the galaxy forever, proving that survival and morality could coexist, that power tempered by wisdom could shape a future worth living. Peace reigned, not because the threat of war had vanished, but because the lessons of war had been learned. And so, humanity and dragons, once enemies, now walked together into the stars, guardians of a galaxy that had survived its greatest trial, ready to face the future as allies, not conquerors.